This week, I am in the throes of the first week of school. It's very exciting. The kids are back to school. They started this past Tuesday. They were so happy and joyously skipped out the door. Okay, not literally, but really excited. They had their new outfits on and all their school supplies and their backpacks. And the start of the school year is such a fun and exciting time. And it's really great to see that as a mom and to see them excited to go to school. We had a little bit of nerves, but mostly excitement. And of course, I have really enjoyed the silence in the house and the opportunities to pray interrupted and to open a book and read while I'm eating my lunch and not have anybody clambering all over me. There are way fewer dishes in the sink because I'm not feeding the kids lunch home anymore. All the wonderful things about school. So it's been mostly a pretty great week. However, I did have this experience on Wednesday. I am in this program that we meet weekly on Zoom, and then we go into little breakout sessions. And so we have sort of like a small group on this virtual program that I'm working. And I've been doing it for several weeks now. And this week, somebody in the small group said something to me, and in the small group, in front of all of the other members of the small group, that really triggered a huge emotional response from me. It was right when we were ending the small group and going back into the main group, and I had to turn my camera off. I was having just a really emotional response. My feelings were really hurt, and I was really upset. And I finished the Zoom and was able to get off and just sat with it and was so uncomfortable. And I could not figure out what was going on or why I had such an intense reaction. And one of the things that I have learned, partially through this program I'm doing, but then also just throughout the years, is that when I have these big emotional responses, the only way to handle it really is to sit in the discomfort and to talk to God and ask for understanding. But what happens is when we have these encounters and somebody rubs us the wrong way or says something that gets under our skin or something is just like really not good and we have this like really charged visceral emotional response, we typically respond in one of two ways. And the first is we'll either lash out, and maybe that means screaming at the person, maybe that means, vicious posts online, and maybe that even just means finding another person and gossiping and really looking for validation for our anger, that we're just like fueling that validation of like I was right and they were wrong, and we're finding somebody else who's going to be like, yeah, oh, I can't believe she said that to you, I can't believe he treated you that way, that sort of thing, where we're kind of fueling that anger and that resentment. And the other option that some of us will do, and I tend to fall more into this category, is we just want to put it in a little box and bury it in the sand and never look at it and think of it again. We want to pretend that we are just having this gross overreaction. We are being too emotional. It doesn't matter. Just stop feeling that. And a lot of times when we try to tell ourselves that our feelings don't matter or that we were in the wrong for feeling the way we feel, then we find ourselves trying to do something to forget about it. And oftentimes those are unhealthy habits, which can be things like picking up our phones and just mindlessly wasting time, or turning on Netflix, or maybe even losing ourselves in a tub of ice cream or a bottle of booze. And when we do that and we try to either numb ourselves or forget it, we are not honoring who we are and what is going on. Because what I have found is that oftentimes when I have what seems like an overreaction, it's because I'm being triggered and I am being reminded of something else. There's an underlying something else going on that really needs to be addressed and that the Lord wants to heal. And so sometimes the Lord will allow these really unpleasant encounters to happen in our life so that we can be brought to the deeper memory, the deeper experience, the deeper struggle that we're having, so we can bring that to the Lord to start healing it. So in my case, instead of doing any of the numbing and instead of doing any of the, lashing out, writing a real hateful email, which was my first gut reaction, how dare you and what were you thinking? I took it to the Lord and I sat in silence and I asked him, like, what was going on, what was triggered, what was happening. And as I sat and wrestled with this throughout the day, I was really able to discover that this had brought up some feelings and some memories and some experiences from many years ago, that were brought back to the surface. And now, because I'm aware of those, I'm able to take them to Jesus and to ask for healing, which does not happen immediately, but at least recognizing it is the first step. And then I was able to more calmly, because I had processed this with the Lord, I was able to write an email that was not angry, it was not lashing out, but it was honoring my emotions and my feelings and what I experienced. Because it is neither good for me to lash out and burn that relationship, nor is it okay for me to say, well, because I'm uncomfortable in the presence of this person, I never want to see her again. And so I'm not going to finish my program and I'm not going to come to my small groups and I'm not going to try and I'm going to just isolate myself. And I want neither to have to never go back to the program, nor to be uncomfortable or feel like I'm threatened to be in the presence of this person. And I know that this was the Lord's will for my life, because after I sent this email the next day, I slept on it and woke up and prayed and then sent this email out. It was the first time since that had happened that I truly felt peace. And one of the really, really clear ways that we know that we are in line with God's will is when we have that peace in our life. So this week, and really at all times, I would like to strongly encourage you to not just brush off your emotions and not just tell yourself that you're overreacting. And also, if possible, don't have an overreaction and don't scream and lose your head if you feel threatened or attacked or insulted in any way. Instead, allow yourself the time to sit with God and really try to uncover what it is that's going on and let Him start to heal that for you. Because that is the only way that we will become fully healed and the whole people that Jesus wants us to be. That's all I have for you today. I'm Maria Riley, just a sinner in the throes of trying to be a saint.